Hi, Anti-Society. Welcome back to the Antisocial Planet. Today we're checking out ChRocktikal's We Break, You Awake album, part 1. I think there's going to be 3 parts, probably. I might do the bonus track by itself. I don't really know. We're going to find out together. But we're at least going to get through the first few tracks in this one, and I'm so excited because Peace was so good and definitely up my alley, so I'm so excited that we're getting so many songs. Thank God we're still getting intros. I'm so excited. All right, let's do this. Okay. Ooh. Hello? Whoa, there were so many things there, like having the strings and then the sound of like a tape, and it almost sounded like there was some kind of instructional kind of thing that you would get where you would put like a tape in and it would tell you when to turn it. Am I just like dating how old I am? But there used to be like you would listen to like different programs on tape and then it would be like it would tell you when to flip the tape or put in the next tape or whatever. There'd be like a little voice recorded into it and it sounded a little bit like that. And then the marching, maybe it was there was a voice, maybe it was Xian, but I don't know for sure. I was trying to listen in on it. Like a whisper? Still got that chunky guitar going on. Ooh, fun little speed up there. Oof, the drums. Ooh. Wait, I love the drums having this like rapid, almost like rolling sound, especially with the marching that we had before and getting this kind of like rolling sound with that was really fun. Guitar. Whoa. And that's how we roll into Peace. I think, isn't that like the next one? Wow. I love that. I think it's such a good little like snapshot. At least like I have one song that I've heard of from this group so far, but it's a great little snapshot with the chunky guitars, getting the guitar solo going on. Great drums, again having a great moment and filling in a bunch of it. We have another guitar line and like the bass coming through. Love the little storytelling at the beginning of even just having the like drama of the strings playing at the beginning before getting into more of the rock sound is a little bit more orchestral leaning, and having this glitch out of you need to change the tape or whatever I think is really interesting too, of saying we're not going to go this angle, we're going to go this way. And I think that is reflected in Peace and like the lyrical content that we got with that, the performance of that. I think it leans really well towards that. I love that we got an intro. Bring back intros, interludes, outros, skits. Bring it all back. I need an album that is an experience. I'm gonna sit down and listen to it front to back. Even on this album, I was looking at it. Look at all these 3-minute long songs. Isn't it great? Don't you just love when you sit down and you're like, oh, it's like an album. I'm so excited. But really good intro so far. I love the sound and how they're just like leading into that like darker, very distinctly rock sound. First proper song on this so far. Also, thank you for giving me a playlist of videos to check out. Appreciate you. Victor. So that makes me think both like victory, but also Victor, was it like you're talking on like a radio or whatever when you're like spelling stuff? Isn't Victor like one of them? I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but you're like the way that you make sure people know that you're talking about V is like saying Victor. So like we already have some of the radio vibes happening. I don't know if any of that will be applicable. I'm just putting out ideas. Let's go. Ooh, let's go. Okay. Okay. Ooh, okay. First off, starting with a drum solo is always gonna get my attention. Second, love the, again, just like really chunky feeling to the production. Also, love the cadences that we're getting with the vocals. It's so exactly in the pocket of what I love from music. I'm just so happy. This is one of those albums that I'm like, I think I need a physical copy. Unfortunately, it is horrendous to try and find any kind of Korean music where I live. My town is too small and everything is too expensive to ship here, so that is just a thing I struggle with. And I have had some people be very nice and offer to send me stuff, but also I don't have a PO box or something for that album. Maybe I should get one, I don't know. But because I would love to have a physical copy of this album just so I could get like the good audio. I want to sit with one of my good headsets and just listen to this production because oh my god, so good. Love the darker sound. And I love cadence we got, the switch up we got there with the vocals from Xian was like having a bit of this like darker tone, and then almost this little oscillation in it was almost like poking fun a little bit. And I think that's really fun too with the topic that we're getting. So a little fret slide there. Right there. Ooh, yeah, like it all like turns to Ash like talking about like a world of endless love, and it like only takes like a moment for it to turn ash gray. I think that's so interesting too. Talking about like God imagery or like almost, I don't know, like a divine intervention in some ways, and talking about how it wasn't enough, or it feels like it's like slipping through your fingers sometimes too. Like it only takes a moment to lose something that feels wonderful. It's kind of like some of the imagery that we get of being on this place, like feeling like you're high up and that you've reached these great heights. It only takes a moment to start like free falling, right? Like the metaphor of that, and how it can feel like the moment the foundation starts to crumble, that everything could come down super quickly. So like the delicate feeling of having something that feels almost like too good to be true. And I feel like for someone like Xian, who's been in the industry for a little bit and also has re-debuted a few times, I think that is also an interesting image of wanting something so badly and feeling like she belongs in music and like on stage so strongly, and yet also feeling that there's this delicate kind of, you can't hold on to it too tightly or it'll crumble in your hands, but also you don't want it to slip through your fingers. That delicate balance of trying to find the right like middle ground of that. Let's go. The synth. Ooh, okay, first off, vocals, incredible. Love the synth that's happening. Also this, I became a monster, the life you gave me will eventually cut off your breath. Chill. Because I think that's so interesting too, like becoming the creation, right? Like, talking about like God and creation and like this form that you created for me, right? And saying like, I'm not evil. That wasn't the intent, but it can start to, again, become something that is like this delicate balance between the two things. Like the thing that you both love can be something that is also like a source of a lot of turmoil. And I think through the lens of like creation, right? I think that is something that a lot of creatives can feel, is that the thing that you love that is like your creative outlet can also cause so much of that like unease in you, especially when it becomes something that's like your career, because showbiz can be this very like back and forth ups and downs of that. There are moments in which we're incredibly busy and moments moments in which there is nothing happening. And every bit of success that you have also comes with the negativity that comes along with it. So it feels almost like our narrator maybe is the creation speaking. I don't see it so much as like Xian like speaking as her, but almost like the version of her that she's created, or like the music that she has created, the performance of who is like Xian, like stage name, as opposed to like her as a person speaking to her and saying like that persona wasn't like intended to be evil, and yet it can become like suffocating in its own way, or like restraining in a lot of ways, right? Like her being Xian of Dreamcatcher is a different experience than her being Xian in ChRocktikal, right? Like having this separate project where she can do a sound like this is very different from what she can do in a group, let alone with like Minx, right? That is a very different sound from like the tiniest bit that I've heard of it. I think that's the story that we're getting, is almost like looking in a mirror and the reflection is speaking back to you, right? Love this off-kilter melody that we're getting. I think she slides into like a minor or something. Little step down. And I also love that it doesn't conclude, right? Like it feels unfinished. Ooh, I love that she got breathier, and then it transitioned into that talking cadence, right? Like the way that we're talking about abandoning the version of her like she created. It's like I was saying, it feels like getting this duality of who is like Xian is like just a person, and then who is like Xian, the stage name, the performance, the persona, right? Because that's always going to be different, regardless of how much like genuine parts of yourself you might try to bring into a performance. It's always going to be like a separate kind of thing from who you are in just like everyday life, right? Like, being on stage is just a very different experience from like buying groceries or something, right? So it feels like we're getting that kind of back and forth between those two things. And the way that she's talking about abandoned, right? Created then abandoned again, of like creating these different personas or different like parts of yourself to get through a performance, or like what you need for a different performance, right? Like even just different songs that she's done, right? You need to bring something different to a darker concept than some of them were like ballads, as opposed to some of them were like fun tracks, as opposed to we got like Christmas themed stuff from Dreamcatcher, right? Like those are different parts of you as a performer that you're bringing to those different things. You're like creating and abandoning. And I like how she's talking about abandon again, and then also refuse to disappear, but we get her like transitioning out of singing, right? So like literally abandoning her like vocalist to be just talking, and yet she's still making noise. Like she's still, this persona is still conflicting with the person that she is. That's so good. That's such a little narrative thing to put in there, but I feel like it works so well with the concept that we're going for of talking about abandoning like the performer, and we lose the performance in terms of it being a sang vocal. Ooh. Ooh, that's so off off-putting the melody that she chose, which I think is on purpose. Like, it's supposed to feel like there's something wrong, like the way that she's choosing the notes, like they don't quite connect. And I'm like, what? Like, it took my brain a second to figure it out. But I think that's very intentional with the subject that we're talking of. You're supposed to feel uneasy, and yet the words are like, just come along with me. Even the one lyric that's leave behind the people in your life, right? Cut them off. Just come with me. I feel like, again, is like the chase me down, right? Chase me, shout out, which is Dreamcatcher, right? The beginning of Dreamcatcher. I feel like that's intentional to put in that particular word if it is going with the topic that I'm thinking of. So it's like literally going after something that you want, and then it's leave your loved ones behind and come with me. It's, hey, abandon like who you are as like a average person, come along with me. Like the idea of losing yourself in creation or art or like fame, cutting them off, and it's not even like an intentional like lessening of that relationship. It's, hey, choose this over your loved ones. Choose this over being just a regular person. Come along with me and chase me down and put everything you have into being a creative, right? Especially like Victor, I feel like there's this like bitterness to that too. Of same with Peace, right? Like Peace as a song and like that being the title of it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek because it's a very aggressive song, and there's something like picking a fight in that song, right? This come at me feeling of it. Whereas like this one too with Victor almost feels, yes, you've reached those heights, but at what cost, right? What have you like given up? What have you lost? What have you, I don't know, emptied yourself of to get to that point, right? I love the little rasp she puts there. Ooh, okay. I'm just listening to some of it. I love that like we have some of the bass almost sounds like it has this up and down, like it like ascends and then goes down again. There is like this idea of reaching almost like these heights and then it like pulls you back down. And I think that's really interesting too, because we have some of the vocal melodies where it's this lift when we first get into the chorus, and then we have that like little, I don't know if it's like a half note or whatever, but it's this little like tip down of, uh-oh. It has that feeling of, I didn't start off as evil, but we ended up somewhere. So it's this feeling almost tipping over the edge. And I feel like the bass has that feeling too of it's lifting and then it claws you back down, which I think is really interesting in terms of the arrangement too. I'm trying to hear more of the production stuff. I feel like I'm getting pulled into like the like lyrical content, the storytelling, but I want to acknowledge the band as well. I like the hi-hat kind of crashing on the one side too.
상상도 못한 아픔을 줄게 너 또한 나처럼 그대 또한 그녀처럼 얼마 남지 않은 듯해 Time to give in, let me take a breath.
Whoa. Ooh, wow. Okay. Love this switching of let me take your breath, or we're talking about I'll be like your last breath or whatever, and having it feel like there's this lack of conclusion there in the chorus. And even though you're just like me, right? Again, almost like I was saying, like the reflection speaking back to you, or even like acknowledging that there are like other parts of yourself or like other people who have gone through similar experiences or whatever. And then I was almost thinking with some of the like synths that we're getting this, I don't know, it feels like the synth that's in the chorus is almost like, again, it has this like tide kind of feeling, like in and out, where it's like it's building and then it pulls back again, which I think is really fitting with the story that we're getting of, again, this push and pull, this rise and fall, this like wax and wane, what it means to be a performer and to have a creative outlet, right? Because like I said, there are times where there's so much going on and everything stacks up and you're busy and you have all these things that are scheduled and you can be getting like acknowledgement and everything. And then other moments where like you're just waiting for the next moment, right? Where you have something to be like focusing all of that like energy in, and it isn't always able to like channel that like creative energy. Even just being able to make stuff, there are times when it's super easy and you have that feeling of wanting to create something, and then other moments where like when it's your career, you just have to hit your creativity with a hammer and hope that something happens. You have to just keep poking it and being like, hey, make a thing, which is really difficult when it's like your career and you can't just like, I'll wait for the inspiration to strike me. Like when it's your career, you're like, hey, you gotta do this thing. You're just like, wake up, we gotta make stuff. I like that we're getting so much of this kind of like push and pull with a bunch of the production, but I was also thinking because of that synth, it almost has this feeling of, I don't know, like B-side kind of horror haunted house vibe to it. And then we got those like vocals coming in that feel almost like these like voices talking at you. And then we have Xian's vocal there in the back that feels again like falling. So again, it feels like this cry almost into the void, but also this like you've tipped over, and it's that moment of catching your breath where like it's already too late for you to do something, right? Where you can already feel yourself like falling back. The world slows down a little bit. Really interesting. Like all of the storytelling. Like I knew that I was probably going to get some good stuff on this. Not ready for it to unlock that part of my brain that like gets giddy about all of the storytelling stuff.
넌 그뒤 또한 그녀처럼 얼마 남지 않은 듯해 Time to give in, let me take a break.
Yeah, like all the layered vocal. It almost sounds like pained. And then it feels more like falling. See, that synth. Like the
Victor.
Ooh, okay. I love all that build up. We have so many different elements being put into the production. And then the way that it's like that held breath, that suspension. Again, like talking about like stealing your breath, right? Taking your breath away. But then also, again, that moment of like, it's something like you can feel like you're like, you missed the last step on going down the stairs or something. And you have that moment of the jolt of like panic that you feel as that like moment of suspension when you know that you're about to fall. And there's like that moment of catching your breath. Ooh, I was there. I was like waiting, the anticipation.
Victor.
Ooh. Ooh, a drum fill. Yo. Yo. I had to pause there a little bit because I was like, playlist, so I don't want to jump into the next thing, but wow. I got chills like, I think like at least 3 or 4 times during that. I love the like, I'll jump into the fire, again, of throwing yourself into what's happening. Also like Victor, even having that pause in everything, and then it's like Victor, it's like in that moment of like suspension, the kind of like creation being like, yeah, I know, I've got you, right? And pulling you in, even though there is this like conflict there, right? There's this feeling of you understand the good and the bad. Even the lyrics of I'm not evil didn't start that, like at least it didn't start that way, right? Of the intention wasn't for this to be something that was both like creative and destructive. And I think that's what we're playing with for this whole thing. And that's where there's this bitterness of Victor, of am I victorious in that I have made something, but at what cost? What have I given up for it? What is it going to do to me because I have made something? And also, I was thinking through part of this Frankenstein story and not the monster. His name is Victor. Victor Frankenstein. So that also makes me think of that, again, putting that all together, of the thing that you have created also becoming the thing that you fear and the thing that causes a bunch of turmoil. Even if you've read the Frankenstein story, like the monster doesn't start off as like a monster, and he isn't necessarily like evil, but there's also all these circumstances of like how the world sees him that makes this like transition into him like doing some pretty horrific things. So I think that is also really interesting to pull all together. And again, having that kind of retro horror sound in some of the synths, almost like haunted house kind of vibe, mixing together with that imagery of fearing the thing that you've created, while also like the god imagery, right? Like you are like the god of your creations, but what does that mean, right? Like it doesn't mean that your creations necessarily like always bend to your will, right? Like you think of story like biblical stories, which I'm pulling from because that's something I know a little bit better than like other religions. But one of the big things in the biblical stories about like humans being God's creation is that also humans have free will, right? So even though they were created with a specific image and intent, doesn't mean that the humans don't like make their own choices that end up being maybe not always the best. And I think that having that as like a metaphor for what we're talking about, even the book Frankenstein is also part of it too, of like wanting to be a god, and what does it mean when your creation has its own will and makes its own decisions. And it can feel like that a lot of the time when you create something, especially in like music, right? Xian can make music and have a specific intent for it. Like the rest of the band, they can make songs and have an intent for how that is going to be perceived, but they don't get to choose how people interpret it, right? This is my interpretation. I could be completely wrong. They could have meant something completely different, but they don't get to control like how I feel about a song after they've made it and put it out into the world, right? You don't get to choose how that song then is interpreted and received by an audience, right? And sometimes those creations can go in a lot of different ways that you don't expect. Such an interesting song. I could probably sit here and talk for a lot longer, but we need to keep going. Such a good song, just like generally, sonically, right up my alley of the things that I love. KALish, I think, because ChRocktikal, Kal is like the sword. I'm sorry, I'm just being a very like native English speaker for a moment. But I'm assuming we're making a reference to a sword and it being like vaguely like that, like a weapon, but also like I think of defending. Maybe that's just the fairy tale imagery that is summoned when I think of like a sword. I don't know. Whoa. All right. Ooh, nice. Or like wind up with the guitar? Ooh, I know I'm interrupting right before vocals, but I love that we have so much space in between those drum hits, and then having that higher guitar that we wind up into, cutting through a bunch of that like darker, kind of chunkier guitar sound is really nice.
마치 하리라는 것까지 날카롭게 또는 캣스펠처럼 부드럽게 스크래치 잠들어 있던 네손 나옴을 깨뜨려 내게 We break, we wake.
Whoa. Whoa, so much fun with the cadences there, like faster delivery and then really elongating some of those sounds in that section where we had like the 4 lines. Ooh, I love that, especially like the image of a sword, right? Like sharp kind of cutting through stuff, right? Like the sound of us like a blade kind of like cutting through. I was even thinking of having that higher guitar. Like I said, it's like cutting through a bunch of that like darker sound with the rest of the production. It's higher up, it's elevated above everything else. It almost feels like this kind of victorious rising above all of the other things. Love this like sharply or softly, right? Like the two sides of it, of the sharpness you think of like a blade, but it can also have this kind of like softness to it, at like the comparison to like a cat, and you also have that it scratches, right? So you have like different kinds sharpness, right? Like I think of like sharp like a blade where it's like cutting, but then you think of something that scratches. It can be like both something that causes injury of like you getting like a scratch, but it could also be like scratches that itch, right? Like the metaphor of scratching, right? Where it's like it's you have this itch that you can't quite get, and they're going to make the right sound that is like exactly in that kind of pocket that you're looking for. Ooh, so many things. She just need to do that right at the beginning. Ooh, I think it's just the guitar too. Sorry. That's so fun. That like that little like intentional like tension, like she's thinning out her voice, so it's, I don't know, meandering kind of feeling, but you also have the lyrics of it rips apart, so you're getting this like thinner, rougher sound with her voice, right? And you're literally getting this again, that like so you're getting this like feeling of again like push and pull with her vocal. I think it's so well placed for that line. Oh, I know I'm interrupting. I like the little cough before, but she also has it rips apart everything you thought you knew, and then she has eternity, but she's broken it up, right? So it's like everything you thought you knew, right? Which is like your own perception of like eternity in a lot of ways, or like permanency, right? All the things that you thought would be like permanent things, or like the status quo or whatever, is being like pulled apart. And then we have eternity split up into parts. Delighted by this album. Look, again, went into this being like, I'm gonna like it, I'm gonna love the sound, the production and like mixing that we got, and just like peace. I'm like, yes, I'm here for it. Delighted by just like the giddiness that I get when there's like depth to what I'm listening to. Like when I get to get my grubby little hands into all of the metaphors and stuff, I'm just like, ooh, yes, give it to me. And I'm having so much fun already with this album. Chef's kiss with that being like how they put together that melody. Xian? Whoa. I don't even know how to process that. Xian, ma'am, did you just scream at me? Did you scream at me? And then for the word now, and then say attention after you just did something that definitely got my attention, and then all the breakdown in the instrumentation, and my brain can't process this album. We're like 1.5 songs in, and my brain is just like, Windows shutdown noises. What? Okay. They perform this? Sorry. Sounds like it hurts. There's a fun groove to this too, as I process that there's actual instrumentation. I love a little stutter.
you think it's a fun game?
What? What is this song? What is this album? What are we doing? I was so excited, and I was so like, yay, all these wonderful little morsels, little treats in the songwriting. And then I was gobsmacked, and now I don't know what to say. The way that Xian is having so much fun with her vocals, right? Like that whole melody right there. And I love right after we get this line that's like, all these standards so annoying. And then she just does all of this fun playfulness, and it almost has this feeling of wandering in circles, right? It feels like we're circling around the same things with the way that the melody is arranged and some of the instrumentation. And again, I feel like we're dealing with breaking out of that. Well, they're talking about all this imagery before of a sword like cutting through everything, cutting through like the noise or expectations. They talk about like prejudices in the next line, but also scratching that itch, right, of something that you didn't know that you needed. And as someone, look, I love rock music. I love rock and punk. That is what I grew up on. That is what I have some connection to in terms of family who are fans of that. Like my uncle he actually worked as like a bouncer and stuff, and like a bodyguard for a bunch of different music venues in the 90s in Canada. So limit to some of that, but there was like a really cool like punk rock scene during that time, and has a ton of knowledge of that, and has definitely influenced me in all of the ways that my mom isn't super happy about, but it's too late now. And she's just as bad, okay? My mom has some crazy albums from like the 80s and 90s that she had to hide from her dad because she wasn't allowed to have them technically. But to have screaming in this was not what I would have expected. And it's not even like I don't know, like a metal kind of scream in the general sense where you get that really guttural sound a lot of the times. There's this rumble to a bunch of screamo kind of music, whereas like, this one feels like it's an actual cry of pain that has been put into it. It makes me a little bit worried about her voice. It sounds like it hurt to do, which makes me a little bit worried, but I hope that everything was done the way that it was supposed to in terms of like behind the scenes of getting that recorded. But I feel like it's such a strong thing to put into this song to subvert those expectations, and going to this of like flimsy rules and like judging only by there's like that broken standard, right? Who gets to decide what a standard is? Who says it's right? Just because that's the way it's always been done doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And I think that is something she has some experience with, right? She's done like Minx that was fitting into the kind of pop sound of the industry at the time, and that didn't work out. So there was a pivot into doing Dreamcatcher, which was definitely not in line with what was super popular in like the Korean music industry when they came out. And now doing like a band, there's definitely a lot of history behind people not wanting to promote bands in South Korea. So that alone is going outside those expectations and like what is expected. But again, just because something is the way it's always been done doesn't mean it's the way it should be. Like having a like female vocalist for this group in any kind of rock part of the like rock industry is a lot to compete with in terms of what people expect, or kind of the prejudices that they put onto that kind of a group, regardless of what part of the world you're competing in. As far as I know, again, I don't know every music industry, so it could definitely correct me if I'm incorrect about that, but all of the parts of the music industry I know that do rock music, it's definitely more heavily like male vocalist centric. So you're already competing with some of that. And even as just like a woman in the music industry, there's like a fit into this box, have this certain presentation, especially with her having previous experience with Dreamcatcher and being like K-pop idol industry adjacent, I would say, because there is like parts of it that Dreamcatcher goes along with and parts of it that they don't. But there is like this like perfectionism and expectation of who you have to be in that. And she just like showing up and singing in this very off-kilter, very like playful, off-putting way, and then also putting the scream in is like very much not fitting into what that box is. And I think that's what this whole song is about, is like who says what should and shouldn't be, right, in terms of like music and creation. And I think it goes off of what the last song was about with Victor, of feeling suffocated by your creation, or feeling like you're stuck in a box of what you've created, right? Like the moment that you create something, people expect that to be the lane that you stay in, right? And instead doing something different. And for someone like Xian, who has a lot of experience, I talked about it going into this group of, I think that it's an asset for her in a lot of ways that she has a bunch of experience in the industry, but it's also a bit of an uphill battle for her to do something different, because people are going to say, they're going to listen to this, they're going to listen to the vocals that she's giving and go, ooh, that's not what I wanted because I'm a fan of Dreamcatcher. And that's going to deter some people. So she's fighting an uphill battle of like her own creation with that. And I think that this is really just cutting through it and being like, don't say that I have to stay in this one spot. And I love like all of the like the vocals that we got some layered in. There's so much going on that I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Did I finish the thought? The ad-lib?
Think it's a fun game? 소리라는 건 맞지 칼이라는 것 같지 날카롭게 저는 캐스퍼처럼 부드럽게 스크래치 잠들어 있던 네손 나온 널 깨뜨려 We break your way.
Ooh. That's wild. I like again that kind of swirling kind of guitar line too. Whoa, the mixing on the drums there too is wild. Like it hits your eardrums. Like again, awake. I'm sorry. How was I supposed to process that? This line. Again, it goes back into Peace where it's I'll fight the winners if I have the time, right? Like she's talking about y'all can fight with amongst yourselves, and then if you think that I'm gonna get involved, honey, we're not even playing in the same weight class. What are you talking about? We're not doing the same things. Why are you trying to pick a fight with me? And I think it's similar here of like the way that she says it too, of this, I don't know, there's almost this like blase, what are you even talking about? Like you're trying to pick a fight with me and like you haven't even recovered from like the previous fight that you got in, right? Like, you're just like picking fights here and there before you've even recovered. And it's like, who do you think you are? Like you're opening up your mouth. Even at the end of Peace, it was the like, give you a kiss to shut you up. Hey, let me show you like attention that you clearly want to get you to stop talking. So it's like similar here, like and the delivery of it is just so, who even are you? Wow. This song is like leaving me a little bit unable to like reboot, to keep like giving commentary.
대화에 티도 안 마른 게 혀가 어디라고 아가리를 터노.
Do we have like a blade sound? Ma'am, are you laughing at me again? Is that what we're doing? We laughing at the end of our songs? I can't do this. She can't be doing like this. Again, like the lazy delivery and then the buzz off and the laugh of don't tell me what I can and cannot do. And again, go with the like blade, sword imagery of I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to have my own sound. I'm going to cut through all of the like expectations or prejudice or I don't know, like the box that you want to confine me into. I can't stay in that box. It's going to suffocate me. And all of the like little jittery parts in the production is fitting with some of that, some of the kind of like horror imagery that we had in some of the Peace like music video of the like jittery like multiple cuts spliced together, and even some of the haunted house vibes that we had in the last one. There's this feeling of again like I want you to be unsettled. There's some of that within this whole song of again having the drums and bass that kind of like really in the mixing are just like I can feel the almost knocked around by them, and then it'll just cut out, right? And having this kind of higher guitar line that's I don't know, it's like a lifeline through the song that's like leading us through all the melodies is really interesting. I am gonna have to like sit with that song for so long to just get my brain to fully wrap around everything that's happening, and I think that's the point. I think the point is that I'm supposed to be left not knowing what to say. Well done all round to everybody, because you definitely accomplished that. I can't get over the scream. The scream is just, it's so like raw sounding. Like my vocal cords hurt listening to it. And I think that's like the point, is this almost like screaming back in your face of, get out of my face, stop telling me what to do, stop like putting me into this confined spot, I will fight back. Wow. No, I'm gonna need a minute. I think I'm just gonna reboot my brain and then we'll reconvene. Right, a last song for this part, because we've already been here a minute. Also, every time I see this title, I start singing OOTD. I'm assuming it's gonna be different though. I'm assuming we're gonna have some, I don't even know what to say of what I think this might be, because at this point, I'm just like, I don't know. She's gonna do something that makes me go, huh? So we're here, this is what we're doing. Okay, it's a snare. Ooh. Ooh, with a little like palm muting. Ooh, okay. This is like a much lighter sound than what we've gotten so far, which I love. I like that we got a song that was just like, don't tell me what to do, don't put me into a specific like box or category, buzz off. And then now it's, I'm gonna do something different now. You thought you knew what this album was gonna be? You thought you knew what the sound of this group was gonna be? No, I'm gonna do something else. Love it though. Like again, there's a little bit of a groove to it. And I love the one line where it talked about, yeah, we'll fly. And then it says, and then we'll suddenly plummet. So it's like the ups and downs I was already talking about at previous parts of this album, but also like this idea of the moment that you think you know what's happening, we're going to pull in a different direction. We're going to do something else. And like the place under us will be the sea. So you have the blue sky and then the sea, also like water associated with the blue and everything. But they're being like almost like floating in both ways, right? Like you fly has this kind of floating weightlessness to it, and then you also have floating in like water, suspended in water. So I think that those are two like really fun images to have the two kind of feel similar to each other and yet are like very different. And there's like a weight to being underwater and everything. And I love that we're getting like a lighter sound from Xian here too. I love the like palm muting on this guitar too, that just adds like a little like bounce for that little chicka, like with like the strumming. Also this bass line. Chills through my whole body. What do you mean? What is this album? What are we doing? Why is this gonna be my favorite thing? We're not far enough in the year for me to have a favorite album that's come out, okay? We can't be doing this. I love kind of the victorious feeling though, because we had the whole line of do what you want, right? Let go of the past. And then we have this lift in all of the music. It's almost like a ballad in terms of the choice of vocal melody that's happening and the crying out. We've had some of that, right? Like literally in the previous song, that like scream of refusing to be contained anymore. Like it felt like something, like I said, like it sounded like raw, something very genuine, like this kind of cry out. And this feels more like freedom to the sound, right? A lighter sound of, I don't feel like I need to dig my heels in and stand my ground, that I'm allowed to do what I want. Like the other songs felt a little bit like biting back at people and being like, get out of my face. That's what the feeling of the previous songs had, including Peace. And this one feels more like you finally can breathe, right? Yeah, there's no one here. I love that slide up. God, the guitar work on this is so good. Oh, grooves.
Splish splash, heave ho, earth above, shares underneath. Tell me I didn't kill it. 느껴봐, 이곳은 천국 같은 거야. 헤엄치는 법을 몰라도 이미 넌 호흡하고 있잖아. Sky deep sea, what does it matter? 그냥 넌 내 보이는 것 같아.
Ooh, okay, so many things. One, this is really fun, the like splish slash, birds above, shells underneath, and talking about what does it matter if it's like sky or sea, but then we have this little popping sound, this little almost like bubble sound in the mixing too, which is really fun, just in terms of like playfulness. Yeah, tell me I didn't kill it, feel it, like this feeling of kill it in terms of like killing it, slang of doing something really well, but then also kill it in terms of, again, it feels almost like we're talking about this back and forth that you can have as a creative, right? Of tell me I didn't actually suffocate the part of me that wants to create things because I was trying to conform within expectations, or even just wringing every last drop of like creativity and inspiration out of something, right? If you make so much stuff and you're doing it as like a job, as a career, if there's like deadlines and things that you need to like keep up with in terms of schedules, it does make you feel like, am I just taking and taking from this thing that I find creative passion in to the point where there's nothing left? And I think that goes to this like falling. This place seems like heaven, and to some it feels like I've fallen from that like height, right? For some people, I'm like giving up something that I should have held on to, right? If we're going back to some of the imagery in Victor, feeling that it takes a moment for it to all turn like ash gray. To some people, like I've done the wrong thing. I've picked a fight with the wrong people. I've told the wrong person to buzz off and leave me alone and let me do whatever I want. And then talking about this being like, there's no one here, like this open kind of space. Yeah, maybe you're floating maybe you're lost at sea to some people, but it's endless open space and you can breathe and there's no one in your face and there's no walls caging you in, right? And there was the one line about like, even if you can't swim, yeah, even if you don't know how to swim, you're already breathing. That in contrast to Victor, where we had the line of, I'm going to take your last breath. So those two differences of, to some it might seem like drowning, but like maybe you were just in the wrong element, right? Talking about like birds and like the sky versus think of like aquatic life, fish, ocean. A bird can't survive in the water, a fish can't survive in the sky, right? Maybe it's not that you're drowning, it's maybe just you were trying to be a bird and you're a fish. Extend the metaphor, but like maybe you were just trying to exist in the wrong element, and what you actually needed to do was just be somewhere else. And I think we can all understand that to some extent, right? Like we've all had moments in our life where we've been told to conform and fit into doing a specific thing, and then you're just like, I'm actually not built for this. Maybe I'm just saying it as like a neurodivergent person. People are like, you have to do this. I'm like, I'm not built to be doing certain things. It's just like a neurodivergent person. All right, I need to just like pivot and do my own thing, right? I need a calendar, okay? I need a checklist. I can't just willy-nilly do whatever I want. I can't remember things. I can't tuck things away in like cute little boxes and be all organized with labels. I would love to be one of those people, but I can't do it. I have to live in a little bit of chaos because if I can't see it, it doesn't exist anymore. That's how my brain works, right? So it's not about, is there something wrong with you? Is there something broken with you? Are you like doing something that is destructive? It's like, maybe I was just trying to exist in the wrong place. So I think that's what it feels like. It's just like some people, it seems like I'm drowning or I'm lost at sea, but in reality, I was always meant to be in this environment, right? Like I was always meant to be somewhere else.
Birds above, Just underneath Tell me I didn't kill it 느껴봐 이곳은 천국 같은 거야 헤엄치는 법을 몰라도 이미 난 호흡하고 있잖아
I love her tone there.
What does it matter 강론해 보이는 것 같아 원하는 그림을 그려 내 연체에 잊혔던 소리내 울어도 돼 여긴 아무도 없으니까 바라던 사랑의 모습을 내게 보여줘 진짜로 만들어줄게 이제 여긴 너와 나뿐이니까
Ooh, I love the little bit of vibrato that she's putting into certain parts. Like, I love that it's such a like bright sound. Again, so many different things that we've gotten from Xian and like her vocal. And I love that in this we can hear some of that like really forward, bright kind of pingy sound that's cutting through everything. Again, it feels almost more victorious. It's a little bit more of a ballad placement in terms of some of the melodies that we're getting. But it's her kind of like throwing the sound over the production in a way that she hasn't in some of the previous songs where she was like sitting back in it. We have some of the like kind of grungier sound, rougher parts of her voice, lower part of her range, and even just like lightening up where she was like playfully doing all these kind of off-kilter melodies. And this one feels more like kind of this very like forward, strong kind of placement of like confidence in a different way. I found a place that like I should be. I'm gonna keep it as like my own escape from everything. And like the show me the shape of the love you've longed for is show me what you want. Like the image before. She's talking about like, draw the image you want, right? Make your own picture. If you need to like scream out, do it. There's no one here, right? Let out whatever you're feeling. What love are you craving? What does that mean to you? Not what everyone else is saying, not what all of the stories say, not what you think you should want. Tell me what you actually want. Having the space to even think about that and to feel what you're feeling and to understand it. And I think that having this like stronger vocal there really fits with the bright, very like confident, strong held vocal has this kind of like victorious feeling to it. No, absolutely not. Do not whisper at me. Don't give me like a bass line and then whisper at me. What are we doing? What are we doing? How am I supposed to get through this album? I'm even breaking it up into parts. Imagine if I had to do all of it once. No, I wouldn't survive. How are the Xian biases doing? How y'all making it through? A little health check on how everyone's doing. Because I'm malfunctioning and like, we all have an issue with Xian to some extent, right? I just feel like the special shout out to anyone who biased her. Any alt biases as well. Thoughts and prayers, because what are we doing? I do like the line of laugh even if it knocks you down tonight. Like this idea of even if something knocks you down, laugh at it, have fun. Like even if you like trip and fall, find the joy in it, right? And like just cry if you feel it inside. Like saying if you need to cry, do it. Don't let other people take your joy from you. Don't let other people kind of confine you to the point where you feel like you can't breathe, right? Let you decide for yourself what you want and what makes you happy and what your ultimate like goals and dreams are, right? Don't let anyone tell you what it should be. Like, oh, you should be aiming for like the sky. You should be like flying above and stuff. It's like, maybe I want to be a pirate. And as much as I like a good sky pirate, space pirate especially, maybe I just want to be a pirate. Okay, let me be at sea. You don't know. You don't know their life. Don't whisper at me. And you're not saying yeah like that. Ooh, you give me a little guitar solo moment, but I do love the laugh even if you collapse from laughing. Like laugh with everything you have, laugh with your whole body, and then talking about live as if you might just like you're gonna die with no regrets, or you don't know what life is gonna bring you, right? We all have one life and you might as well live it the way that you want. And I think that the older that I get, the more that I just feel that deep within inside of me of you could be the best person on the planet and someone is gonna not like you for it, so you might as well just do something that you like. And if people get mad at you, if you're not hurting anyone, I don't see why it matters, right? Sometimes I'm just out here having a good time, and if me having a good time upsets you, that says more about you than it does about me, right? Do the things that make you happy. Do the things that make you laugh so hard that you fall over. Even if it seems weird, even if it seems out of pocket, even if it's going against expectations. If it brings you joy, and it's actually, again, finding your actual element that you belong in, that's where you belong, right? No one can force you to be like something else, right? Like, if you're not a bird, you can't fly in the air, right? That's something you're not going to be able to accomplish. So if everyone's, man, you're really bad at being a bird, right? You're not doing any of the bird things that you're supposed to be doing. I'm not, though. I can't do any of those things because I physically can't do it. I need to find like my own element that I actually belong in, right? So don't let people put you into that box and be like, live your life. You're not going to have regrets, right? Like, it's so much better to just do the thing and be like, maybe I failed, maybe it doesn't work out, maybe I'm wrong, but I won't know unless I try. And what if is worse, right? Go. Ooh. One song, let's go. The bass is good too. No, we're absolutely going back for that vocal. Good ad-lib there. Ooh. Fun little letting it fall off at the end. But I was thinking with that vocal at the end, because it's a repeat, right? So we have the same lines repeated, a little bit of different line in between. But I like that the lines that are talking about cry if you feel like you have to, laugh till the point of you like falling over, right? Do the things that you want to and live your life as if this is the final ride. Like, you're not going to get another chance. Like, you can say, oh, maybe later, only so many times. You don't know what later is going to have to offer you. You might as well just try something, right? Like, you might as well just see what happens. And I say that as someone with anxiety, and I understand that it is easier said than done. But sometimes you just need to take a leap of faith and see what happens. This YouTube channel, for one thing, is it like a huge thing? No, but it's a lot of fun and I enjoy it a lot and y'all are great. We've had some good times. But it all just started because I turned on the camera one day and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. We're just gonna figure it out. So sometimes you just need to like take a shot and see what happens. And I love that those repeated lines start as like this whisper, as much as personally I don't think that's good for my mental health. But it starts as a whisper, it goes into more of a singing tone, and then we get this very like belted, victorious kind of sound to it, right? Like it builds up, and I love that it starts as a whisper. It starts as this little thing of, but what if I tried? It just starts off as this little voice in your head of, what if I just did something else? What if I just tried something? What if I just went with what my heart was telling me? And then it builds into this more like momentum to it, right? As you become more confident in it, or you become more sure in your choice, right? Oh, I love the groove of that song. Much lighter sound than we've gotten from the rest of the album, but I think it was so much fun. I love the guitar there. The bass was like really shone in this one. I think there was a lot of space for the bass to be like very forward in it. And drums have just been like so good. They were so good in like the last one in the way that they just knocked me around. But I feel like we've gotten lots of really great moments for the rest of the band and all of the instrumentation. I am not gonna do well in this album. I don't think I've done well already, but I don't think it's not gonna get easier, I don't think. All I can really say is wow. I'm enjoying this so much. Like, I 100% went into this album being like, I'm gonna be a fan, I'm gonna have a good time. Even hearing Peace, I was like, yep, definitely up my alley. I'm gonna enjoy this so much. Was already a fan of Shan. Going through the interviews, I was like, okay, the other members are also like very endearing. So I wasn't under the impression that I wasn't going to like this album, but actually getting to hear hear more of the tracks, I am delightfully more impressed than when I thought I would be, right? So many moments in this where I feel like there was just some really great writing and like taking a concept and doing lots of really creative things when it came to not just the lyrics, but the choice of like melodies and like the performance from Xian, and then the arrangement of a bunch of the instruments. Like I said, I feel like there were moments for the instruments to shine from all of the different members, but then also just the way that they accented certain like themes and moments within the songs. Like it wasn't just to make a bunch of noise or to have that rock sound to it. I feel like they really added to a bunch of things, and I like that we get these little like synth moments in different parts to give like a certain atmosphere to specific parts of the songs. I wasn't expecting to be like actually made speechless either. Like I wasn't ready to be like left jaw on the floor trying to process what this album was gonna be, and I'm only a few songs in and I'm already just having to like pick my jaw up, remember that I'm making a video, and therefore I have to have thoughts instead of just shocked silence as I stare into the great distance. But I'm definitely going to be listening to these songs over and over again, and if the rest of the album is anything like this, or God forbid more, which does scare me a little bit, because I know that, I think, was it the bonus track that they said was like their favorite or whatever? I'm a little bit nervous now. I'm gonna do with this one. But if it's anything like these songs for the rest of it, I'm just gonna be delighted. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I really love getting like rock music in general, but getting a really good concept and theme with some creative choices. There's some off-kilter things in it that are definitely them kind of towing the line of like expectation, and I think that it's supposed to like grab attention. It's supposed to be something that's off-putting. I think it is maybe an acquired taste, but I also think that they've accepted that. I know that they talked a little bit about like how do we balance between mainstream and then doing our own thing, but I think that they've done a good job of putting in those like catchier moments and then also like doing some of those off-kilter things that not everyone I think is going to like. I, however, love when you do weird things in production, do weird things with vocal melodies. I'm here for it. Surprising me is so much better than just like giving me a fun song. I think like my giddiness at the fact that this has shocked me is just great. As like someone who loves rock music, who already knew some of like Xian as a performer, and now I'm just sat here being like, you managed to surprise me. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get to the rest of the album and see what other kind of goodies they have waiting for me. But I hope you enjoyed listening to that along with me. You can click this playlist to go to my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to this time I post a ChRocktikal reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.